hello everyone. This is 3 p.m. in Las Vegas time. I'm not sure if you are in Vegas or in other part of the time, but welcome here to today's 2023 West Federation QUI Conference. And this is the Professional Development Session 1. And our title is From Job Application to Interview, Academic Job Seeking 101. So today's it's my honors that we have 3 panelists joining here today to talk more about academic job seeking. So would you mind, our panelists, would you mind introduce yourself? Let's start with Shane.
Sure. I'm Dr. Shane Blum. I'm associate professor at Texas Tech University in the Department of Hospitality and Retail Management.
And Fevzi?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Fevzi Okumus from UCF Rosen College of Hospitality Management. I've been here for 18 years. And I am the founding chair of the Hospitality Services department here. I was a department chair for 6 years. Since 2013, I'm a regular faculty member. Thank you.
Hi there.
Sandra?
Yes. Hi, I'm Sandra Ponting. I'm an assistant professor and I'm from San Diego State University.
And hello, everyone. I am Dr. Clifton, an associate professor of hospitality organizational behavior here at University of Nevada, Las Vegas. And once again, welcome so much for joining our professional development sessions on Job Seeking 101. To begin with, I would just like to give you a brief overview of what a typical academic job seeking is like. At the very beginning, applicants, most likely people who are interested in the job, will go through the application stage, where they apply through a university system by submitting cover letters, statements, and answer some questions, and including list of reference and other relevant information that the university asks for. After that, it will go through the screening stage where search committee members will be screening the application materials that the individual submitted. And after the search committee, they decide who they would like to meet, then it will go through the virtual interview phase. And if they like the people enough, then they will invite them for on-campus interviews. And finally, they will go through the offer stage and the negotiation phase. So today, we are going to have questions on each of the stage so that our panelists can give you more insight on the job search process. So let's begin with our first questions in the application phase. What job application materials would you ask the candidate to submit? Fevzi, would you mind starting our first question?
I think ladies should be first, but since you insist, I don't think there is a standard list to submit. I will always suggest look at the job description, and whatever they are requiring you to submit, submit those. But read the job description very carefully. If they are saying submit an application letter, submit your CV, submit your certificate, submit this, then you must submit those. Sometimes some universities require you submit reference letters. Some universities require only names of the references. Then they require these reference letters submitted confidentially or separately by the professors or references. So I will say, look at the job description or job ad and work on your letter, and whatever they require, submit those. And then also professionally, in every job ad, there is a contact person, either the committee chair or the HR person. If you are not really sure about it, just contact that person to confirm what to submit, what not to submit. For example, if they are looking for a sommelier, all right, someone to teach beverages, then it's okay to submit your certificates. If someone is required, if a university is looking for a revenue management professor, and then you have, in addition to your Ph.D. and publications, then you have a certificate, you have some expertise, it's okay to submit those. But just check the job description and then follow. Thank you.
Thank you. So ladies, not first, but second, Sandra, would you like to add?
Oh, you are so kind. So as Dr. Okumus said, in addition to that, I think it really depends on the university. So our university, in addition to your typical 2-page cover letter, CV, we actually require 2 letters of recommendation. Something that's new to us recently is a diversity statement that is is required by university policy. So those are kind of the list that I would add to there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's all about right. We just ask for reference names, but you definitely need to make sure that you follow the job posting and all of the materials, because if you don't, you'll lose points off of that, and you'll wind up at the bottom of the pile. But that's we mostly ask for what has already been mentioned.
Thank you so much, panelists. And indeed, that is so true. When I was a search chair, we actually will filter out people that did not fulfill the basic requirement or did not submit the required material. So when you are applying for a job, make sure you check your job applications and to make sure that everything that was being asked are included. The next question that I have is...
Oh, sorry, Cass. There's a question in the chat box that's relevant. Do you conduct background checks at an early stage of the application process? I think we only do it when they're invited to come onto campus.
We don't. We check the last. Yeah, basically the same thing. Yeah, we check if we're going to bring in 3 people to a campus visit. We start checking their references then. We don't check, because I was just telling Cass earlier today, we have a posting right now and we have over 50 applicants. So it'd be basically impossible to do background checks on 50 applicants. You have to wait, get it down to 2 or 3. So we don't do it in the beginning. We do it at the end.
Same, and also committee doesn't do it at UCF. I think UCF yes. HR does it, and the committee members or department chairs have almost nothing to do with it.
Yes, HR does it.
I think the standard thing is for what to submit is your cover letter, your CV, and then references. These are standard. And then sometimes they ask for your research statement, diversity statement. They ask for teaching philosophy. So you have to have those. And then last thing is, don't submit the same cover letter. Don't submit the same teaching philosophy to every university, because every university, every job application, job posting is different. So you have to study really carefully and then adjust it, reposition your CV, your application letter, your teaching statement, your research statement, and so forth. Thank you.
Yeah, that's great advice. And that is one thing I wanted to mention. For us, we do not ask for a diversity statement, but in the job posting, we do ask about having experience working with the diverse student population. So as Fevzi said, you need to address that in your cover letter, because sometimes that can be difficult to determine from reading a CV if you've worked with a diverse student population. So you really need to read that position description carefully. And in your cover letter, as Fevzi said, you need to address it to that job, to that university. Don't just give me the same cover letter that you give out to every other university. I've done this for a long time, and I've gotten numerous cover letters that were addressed to the wrong university, even had the wrong name. I mean, they literally just copied and pasted it. They were applying to San Diego State and they sent it to me. I do not work at San Diego State. I work at Texas Tech. And that person, once again, goes right to the bottom of the pile, because if you can't take the time to proofread your cover letter and address your cover letter to me, then I'm not going to take the time to go through your application. So you really need to make sure that you're addressing it to that institution and to the specifics of that particular job posting.
Thank you. And so thank you for explaining what you are expecting in the cover letters. How about for the CV and statement? Would you have other expectations, Sandra?
So just piggybacking on what Shane said and extending what you're expecting is, I think, again, also following what Fevzi said earlier in terms of being able to curate and exemplify what your research agenda is, what your teaching is and service in a succinct manner in your CV, I think is really important. So therefore, think of ways where, because most job calls will have specific classes that we're expecting the candidate to teach, an area of expertise that we're looking for. So make sure that you are, equipped with the right experiences to apply for the position. But I think Shane put it pretty good before anyway. Very good, Shane, sorry.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you, panelists. And thank you so much for letting us know more about your expectation. Anything to add in these questions?
So maybe, go ahead, Fevzi.
Shane, please go ahead.
So one more thing about that, and maybe we'll cover this in a second, but I don't want to forget. As we said, read the job description carefully and make sure you're qualified for it. Don't apply for every single job that's out there. There are a lot of jobs out there now, but if you're a food and beverage person, don't apply for a finance job. I mean, guess what? You're not going to get that job because you don't have those experiences. So just applying to every single job that's out there is not a good strategy. You need to make sure that you fit that job in order to have a chance. So as I said, we have over 50 applications. My guess is when I start to look at them, there will be a few that the people are clearly not qualified. So don't waste your time, don't waste our time. Just apply for the jobs that match up with your expertise and your experiences.
Some clear suggestions supporting Sandra's and Shane's comments. What is the job description says or requirements and plus items? Line by line, you need to refer to each. If they are saying industry experience, you need to say, I have industry experience. If they say research in this, you say, I have researched this. Don't use I too much also in your application letter. And then line by line, you have to justify that you really qualify, go above and beyond what they are expecting in a professional way, not in an arrogant way. And then your CV should be very clear, easy to follow. Find a good template CV from current applications or from your chair, from your colleagues. I see some CVs I cannot really read at all, follow all over. But I see some CVs whenever you look at the application letter and the CV, well structured, you can find almost everything easily. Experience, education, publications, journal articles, journal articles listed separately, conference papers listed separately, and then grants if there are any, and then your role in the grant, and what else? Everything is structured, clear, easy to follow, not all over. That's really key. Then it shows that you are really professional, you are structured, then you can. And then one other thing, I'm not a native English speaker, and some native English speakers, the way they write and the way they write their CVs are perhaps worse than me. Make sure you have spelling, you spell check your CV, your statement, you ask a friend to read it for you, hire a professional editor to read it for you. Even I, like 50 times, 100 times, I revise my CV. I'm not applying for positions, but annual evaluation and this and that every year. And I find mistakes after mistakes in my own CV, all right? But if you have really spelling errors, mistakes, missing information, and articles, page numbers are missing, volume is missing, and all over, then you are losing straight away that you cannot get that job, okay? Make sure it's professional. I stop here.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. One tip with Fevzi, what Fevzi said in terms of CV structure, ask your advisor. Every university has a template for it's called something different. For us, it's retention, tenure, promotion. There's a template at the university. And I would follow that template quite closely just to make it more succinct and kind of figure out what the universities are looking for.
Find a good template. There is a
good
question in the chat. It says, do you consider it as a plus if candidate submits additional materials, presents them in a creative way, like having a website? I think having a website is a good idea, but it has to be professional, not like a YouTube page. All right, as long as it is professional and they can find all the information, it's a good idea. But I think designing a website, it requires some expertise. If you can do it, it's fine, but it has to be professional. Your LinkedIn account is another thing they may check. And then also they may check your Facebook, social media, and so forth, not just your cover letter and statements.
Thank you so much. And so let's move on. And so assuming you are submitting a good cover letters, a good statements, good CV that fit the requirements of the job, you may have a chance of getting the virtual interviews. So at the virtual interviews, panelists, may I ask you, what are the do's and don'ts in the phones or Zoom interviews?
Sandra first.
Sandra?
Okay. So I think the do's in our research search, be in a quiet space and make sure that your background is appropriate and professional. And what really made an impression with our last search was many of the good candidates did a lot of good background research on the committee members. So they're already connecting. They already kind of, Google's your best friend. So you can pretty much find everybody these days, right? So, you have images of your, committee members and you would refer to them and talk about their research and how we could collaborate. That was really interesting for me. One thing I think that really came to mind with the don't was looking at notes constantly. There was a candidate that was constantly looking at notes, and I understand with anxiety that could come, but I think there could be various ways, especially if it's Zoom, we all can, have multiple windows up, right? So you could have your notes on the side on a Word document. There's nothing wrong with that, but this person was constantly just looking down to reflect to the notes, and that just didn't come up very, very nicely.
Yeah, I've had people where they read things. They weren't even looking at notes. They were actually reading from some statement that they had made. And that doesn't set a good impression. Yeah, I'll agree with Sandra about researching the faculty who are either on a committee or else other faculty you might be able to work with. The other thing is research the courses, research the what courses you might teach, because in the Zoom, they're going to ask you, what courses do you think you're qualified to teach? And, saying, I think I can teach accounting and finance. Well, okay, that's good. But if you know the terminology, what they call it, do they call it, introduction to financial analysis in the hospitality industry or something? Use their terms. So then in their head, they can say, okay, yes, they can teach, HRM 4332 or whatever it is. So that's good too, because that shows that you have done your research. Another thing that I would say not to do if they ask you that question, and this has happened to me too, where we ask somebody, what classes in our curriculum do you think you can teach? And they said, everything. Okay. you can't teach everything. So that just shows that you're naive, that yes, I know you're like gung-ho and you think you can teach everything, but you can't, because no one can. So, do your research and be specific about the courses that you think you can teach. And like Sandra said, if you mention with my research, I would like to work with Dr. So-and-so and Dr. Jones and then that shows that you did your homework.
Just to add some comments, at UCF Rosen College, how we do it, committee members, before every Zoom interview or phone interview, they develop standard 5 to 10 questions. And these questions are reviewed by HR and even from, I think, the main campus diversity office and everything. Okay. And they ask the same question to every candidate. And standard questions, I think I have served on committees, chaired committees. Why do you want to join us? Tell us about yourself, your research area, your teaching philosophy, and then tell us about a situation you face challenges with students, how you handled it, and then how you can get grants and how you can do this and so forth. So you have to really, if you apply for a position at Rosen College, you need to look at the website, all the information and the job ad. If it is a revenue management, if it is an entertainment, if it is an entrepreneurship, you need to demonstrate you have done research in this area by saying you have industry experience. You're meeting all the requirements in the job ad we highlighted, and additional plus points. So line by line, you need to hit everything during the interview, saying I'm qualified in a nice way, not really arrogant way, all right? If you say like none of your professors is as good as me in revenue management, then that's a good sign that you will not be hired, right? Because in many universities, they are not looking for the best researcher. They're looking for a good researcher, good teacher, someone is not arrogant, someone will come and we don't want someone to come and teach us how to do research, how to teach. We want someone to come and work with us and help us and grow the program and create a positive environment. If someone is far too arrogant, even during the Zoom interview, saying, I'm better than all of you, I can do everything, then forget it. Okay? So professional, and then the key thing is make sure you check your computer, your phone, the background. And I have had cases like didn't work, we couldn't hear, there was noises, and just make sure 100% and have a backup plan. If your laptop is not working, use your phone. If your phone is not working, have a iPad or something, right? But the job description is key. They will address, and then those 7 to 10 questions everyone will ask, your teaching, research, and then address all the committee members with their names, Dr. This, Dr. Lee, Dr. This. Be professional and refer to their research, their publications, and also their research investments, which area they are really investing in terms of research teaching. If you really know that universities, that college's mission, vision, and the new initiatives, then if you refer to those, then say, oh, she did really her homework, really impressive. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. I think all of them are very good advice. And one of the number one rules is that don't be arrogant. I still remember, I don't remember a lot of the interview that I did, but I do remember the one that I did, and the guy just say, I am the best. And you know what? He's not even into the next stage.
Yeah.
And so if you do a good job in the Zoom interview, be very humble, be professional, and be able to associate with the job applications, then you may have a chance of getting invited for on-campus interviews. So my question for the panelists is that, how can a candidate prepare for a fly-out interviews? What should they expect? And now let's start with Shane.
Sure. So my advice with this is realize that the whole trip is an interview. So from the minute that they pick you up at the airport to the minute that they take you back to the airport, it's an interview. So don't, you might get in a situation where you feel comfortable and you can talk to the faculty. Be yourself, but be your professional self. So you don't want to, for example, let's say that the faculty ask you out for a drink after dinner, or they order, wine with dinner. I'm okay with, if, read the room kind of thing. If everybody at the table, this just happened. We interviewed somebody like 3 weeks ago for a different position, and there were 4 of us, and the 3 faculty ordered a glass of wine, and the candidate, she ordered a glass of wine. She took like a sip, but she ordered the glass because everybody else ordered a glass, so kind of read the room. But if they ask you out for drinks afterwards too, be your professional self. Don't start doing more drinks than other people, or start drinking, hard alcohol or anything. But just when they're driving you around, showing you campus, when they're driving you around, showing you the town, realize everything's an interview. Everything's part of the interview. And I think people forget that, and they maybe let their guard down and say things that maybe they shouldn't say, that are somewhat unprofessional. And then when the faculty get together and meet, we talk about that. Oh, wow, they were great in, their presentation and everything, but they said this to me on the way back to the airport. Actually, this happened in another department in my college. When they picked this woman up at the airport, they were driving her in, and she told the person, I don't want to come here because it's not near the ocean. Okay, Lubbock, Texas, just look at a map. So she wasted all of their time and all of that money because she didn't want to live in a landlocked city. So don't, look at a map before you go anywhere is my main advice on that one. But just be your professional self the entire time. That's what I'm trying to say.
Thank you. And Fevzi?
I think I will add one more layer. Before you fly, the person who is arranging your flights, all interviews, the secretary, the assistant, and I, as an editor myself and a former administrator, if someone sends me an email, or how he responds to my emails, I can guess his personality, her personality. We have had candidates requiring special flights, special hotels, and very demanding arranging their travel arrangements. And then immediately the person said, God, she is difficult, she's demanding, he's demanding. And then before arriving, all these things. And then during the interview, as Shane mentioned, from the airport, whoever picks you up, if they don't pick you up, that's fine. In the morning, greet everyone from the door, all right? Even the cleaning ladies, greet everyone, the person at the gate, smile, greet, and just be yourself, be nice, don't act, don't fake it. And also we often see candidates treat the dean, department chairs, committee members nicely. And then when it comes to staff and assistant professors or other faculty members, suddenly they are not that important. All right, that means it's acting, not real, right? So treat everyone with respect. And then during another thing is, it is standard. You will meet the dean, department chair, have a teaching demo, and then research presentation. All of them, you have to be really professional all the time, well prepared. And then also another thing, for these, you have to spend time to prepare your teaching presentation, your research presentation, all the questions. And that's why have something in mind, what you will present to teach, what you will present for research. And then sometimes also they say, can you teach a topic on topic A, topic B, topic C. Don't say you can't teach it. Say, yes, I'm happy to teach, happy to develop. So it's really crucial, the interview process, and ask your advisor colleagues how you can prepare. And it's a sensitive topic. If you have a good friend, someone from that college, that department, you can call. Don't send emails, all right? Because if you send an email, they will never answer. Everything is in a record. But if you really know someone, you can call and say, listen, what are the things you shouldn't do? You should do. Any advice, any hints? And if your friend can give you some advice, that's also acceptable. But you have to know your, I think, borders when you do that as well. Okay. I think we can talk about this, the interview day, hours and hours, as Shane mentioned about, having food, eating, drinking out, and all those things. Just and they may ask you about your family, your situation. So some of the things they are not supposed to ask, but some faculty may ask. And then be professional. If you don't want to answer, don't answer certain things. What else? There was something in my mind about that day. And salary, all right? Never ever ask about the package, okay, or teaching load. Just it backfires immediately. And don't say like you are the best during the interview. You are the best teacher. You are the best researcher, and this and that. Just show your record should show. And then I think this is a small world. People know PhD students from conferences and during the Zoom interview. If they really like during the Zoom interview, they really say, okay, let's do this. Someone may guide you professionally, because they like you, and then they want to have you, right? And then if you already have a job offer, at the same time, don't mention that during the interview, all right? Because we have had cases like, oh, I have received another job offer, I'm just shopping around, and then it's not a good idea.
I have a quick story about being nice to people. We had a candidate once, and he was all nice to everybody at the college, and he went back to the hotel, and he had a problem with his hotel room. I don't remember what. And he was really rude to the hotel staff. Well, guess what? We made your reservation. We know the people that work at that hotel. Some of them are students. That got right back to us, and the rest of we knew instantly that we were not going to hire this guy because he was rude to the staff, and the rest of it was just a show. So you should be nice to everybody in general. I'm not being like philosophical here, but you should be nice to everybody in general, but make sure every single minute you're on that trip is an interview. So be very professional. That's my big takeaway.
I think all of that, what Shane and Fevzi said, are so important. And when Fevzi mentioned what's your package, what's your load, I think during the Zoom interviews, when we give every candidate the opportunity to ask a question, the ones that didn't make it to the final visits on campus were the ones that asked about their teaching load. It's just not a part of our culture. The ones that actually did make it to campus were the ones that asked about our students, for instance. Tell me about your students. And that really impressed us really well. What are some of those innovative strategies that you're thinking of to build the school, or what's your direction, those kind of things. But in addition to all of these really good tips and advice, I would also say it sounds like a lot, right? Normally we do a 2-night, 3-day kind of, on campus, pretty intensive. So my advice would be wear comfortable shoes because you'll be doing a lot of walking around. It's going to be exhausting and very busy, and make sure you always carry a water bottle and hydrate. That's all I can add to the wonderful comments Fevzi and Shane made.
Yeah, because you talk to a lot of people. The water thing is important because you're talking, for 8 or 10 hours straight for 2 days. So,
during the Zoom interview or in-person fly-out interview, there are standard questions like, why do you want to come here? Just prepare a convincing answer, not like a robot, or a genuine answer related to that program, this program. This is what I like to teach you. You have this program. What I like to do research in this, your area is you're focusing on. And you have mentors here you can guide. And your program is famous here. Just be genuine, not like, oh, I like here, or I think you can easily see someone is really genuine, really wants to come or not. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I agree with all of that. And I just have a quick short stories to share. One of the case that I met a candidate and we end up didn't hire that candidate. One of the reasons is that during the dinners, the candidates keep on playing her phones. So keep your phone away from you. You are interviewing. Even though you are having a drink, you are having dinners, it's part of the interviews. So if they are inviting you to the campus interviews, be respectful and engage in the conversations in a polite and professional manners. And I agree with all of the above, and all of those are good advice. If you take all of those, you are likely to be going into the next stage. So generally, what are you looking for in the candidate? And Fevzi?
I think, again, I go back to the job description. Whatever job description says, we need someone in entrepreneurship, we need someone in entertainment or event management, and in event management, this area. That is the first requirement. Second is, every school is looking for someone nice, pleasant, positive, will lift the culture positively, and will help develop the program, offer new courses or improve current courses, and be a problem solver, at least until he or she gets her promotion and tenure. All right. In academia, we work very hard until you become a full professor. So at least 10 years, that person will be really committed. Pleasant, what else? A good researcher and following the departments, colleges, vision and mission. These are the things they are looking for, I think. Overall, a nice person, okay? Not a troublemaker, not a complainer. And I have seen, I'm sure there are cases, candidate maybe outstanding researcher, outstanding teacher, but has a lot of industry experience, but the attitude, the behavior, and just destroys, right? This is really what many schools are not looking for. That's why show that you are good at, you're a good researcher, you're a good teacher, you're willing to improve, you're willing to serve on committees, willing to solve problems, and you are there to help others. I think this is what many schools are looking for, right?
Yeah, I think academia is pretty different from a lot of other industries, because more or less when we're hiring a faculty member, all the faculty get to say something about the person that's being hired. I mean, if you work in a hotel, the general manager hires people and he or she can hire more or less whoever they want. But all the faculty at least get some kind of input. And like Fevzi said, we want to work with a nice person. We don't want to work with a troublemaker. We don't want to work with somebody who, like he said, we had trouble booking their flights and this and that and the other thing. And so yeah, so that's the kind of candidate. We want somebody who we can work with, that fits our culture, obviously can do all of the things of the teaching, research, and service that are associated with the position. But I want to work, we have a great culture at Texas Tech, and I want people to come into that culture and fit in with that culture. I don't want to hire somebody who's going to cause problems and make everybody's life miserable. So that's really, for us, that's really important, is kind of similar values and fitting in with the culture.
One thing sorry, Sandra, I need to emphasize this. One thing I often hear, I think for the last 10 years, 15 years, in hospitality programs, there is a culture of research. Okay, research is important, And many PhD students are trained to do research and they don't want to do much service and teach many courses. And then when they are hired, they disappear and they just crank out articles after articles. But when it comes to serving on committees, they don't want to serve, or they just do minimum. And when there are new courses to teach, they are not really keen on teaching those courses or developing new courses. And they are not present around attending school events, college events or department events. And then it is backfiring and saying like, wow, we don't want all these hardcore researchers. We want researchers, but also they want to teach, they want to serve on committees and solve problems, help us, all right? Be present, be around. So this is really, really important. And you need to highlight during your interview that you want to, you need a good mentor, you are willing to work under good mentors, and you want to develop new courses and help others and serve on committees. And also what I like, especially industry connections. Again, one trend in hospitality programs is we don't have much connection with the industry. Only we collect data through Amazon or Prolific or other platforms and hardly connect with the industry. And this is really sad. Only our internship departments, career offices are working, but not many faculty members have direct connection with industry. You need to emphasize that during Zoom, during your interview, that whether school is will help you to connect with the industry, how you can work with local partners and so forth. Like, tell me about your students. That's a good question. Also, how I can work with the industry, how we can better collaborate on research, don't mention research, perhaps finding jobs for our students and other stuff. So show that you are really committed and you will be engaged.
I think those are all very valuable. No, not at all. And I'll just build on that. So the rest of the panelists are at R1 universities, right? I'm from a California State University system, meaning that it's a teaching-focused university as opposed to a UC, that's our designation. And I will say that out of all those CSU systems, we have about 16 hospitality programs, and ours would be probably the most rigorous when it comes to research. But still, teaching and having a connection with our students is extremely important for us. And like Shane, we have a very small school, and therefore it's like a marriage, right? So it's not just you wanting to please the school, but we have to please you too. We have to be a good fit for each other, right? You can't alter your core values. I think all of us that are in this room right now have the capability and the aptitude to grow in our research as well as our teaching skills. But the core values in terms of why you want to be in this profession, I think is what you're really wanting to kind of ask yourself and find a school. It's like dating, right? It's got to be both ways. So therefore, find a school that really aligns with what you believe in when it comes to this profession. I think that would be. And another thing that I would like to add, again, just to flip, because I know we've been saying we want somebody nice, and of course we do, but I think all of us are unique and valuable, right? So share that narrative, that life experience that you've had, and how that gets incorporated into your research, your teaching, and your service mentality, and how that all kind of translates in the classroom, and to find that right fit.
And this is a little bit ahead, but I don't know if all the doctoral students know, but all faculty get annual reviews, and then there's a third year review, and then the tenure promotion. So we've had at Texas Tech quite a few times where people don't get past that third year review. And it's not as much, like Fevzi said, it's not so much the research, it's that they teach 2 classes, they just do the minimum. They don't do service. They don't, and so they're good researchers, but the rest of the job, they just don't get it. And like Sandra said, it's kind of those people that ask, what's my workload going to be? How much am I going to get paid in the interview? Because they're not really buying into the culture, as Sandra mentioned too. So once you get the job, this is a completely different topic. We could have a whole nother session on this, but once you get the job, there's a lot of things you have to do to keep the job. And every year you get reviewed, and you can be asked to leave after 3 years. Well, really, you can be asked to leave after any of those first few years, but there's a major review after 3 years where if you're not doing the job, then you're asked to leave, and you have one more, at least at Texas Tech, you have one more year, and then you're done. So it's not just getting the job, it's getting the job and then doing all the things that you said you were going to do during the interview. So there's a lot more to it than that. We just had an interview with somebody, and they're a doctoral student, and they're interviewing for another position. And he said, "Oh, this is the first time I've ever taught. And you know what? This is really, really hard." We're like, yeah, this is not, this is not an easy job. So anyway, I think some people have misconceptions about what it is to be a faculty member. So
all of that are very good advice. And if you follow all of that, hopefully you will get to this stage, the negotiation stage, the stage that you actually get the offers. And so my question for the panelists is, once a candidate receives an offer, what would that process like? What would that negotiation process be like? And can you share some insight? And let's start with Sandra again.
Well,
Thank you.
It is very nerve-wracking from my own experience. Our negotiation only happens with our dean. So our director is not involved, nothing at all. And this is probably the point where you're offered a certain amount, a salary, so to speak. And this is probably the right place to start negotiating if you feel that this is not what you're looking for. And of course, it depends on the university. Is it a state? Is it a private? Is it R1? Where is the region? Is it in California as opposed to, I'm not going to name other states, kind of thing. But this is, I believe, the point where you do have that conversation about, your teaching load for the first couple of years, because they do want to set you up for success, right? And it is kind of, you have to kind of look out for yourself too. This is probably the time where you are going to talk about some, seed funding, just get up your, your research. There's usually a set amount for that at the college. And I think, especially for those of you, because I was in the situation, for those of you that have partners and you have to move together and you happen to be in a similar field, this is sometimes where the candidates ask about spousal hire possibilities as well. And I have seen success, maybe not at my university, but in other universities as well. And they, they can connect you with the right department as well, just as a reference. So that's what I could say from my own experiences.
mm-hmm.
Jane?
Yeah, so I'm no longer, but I was department chair for 9 years, and we did those negotiations at the chair level. So I've done quite a few of those. It's all the things that Sandra just mentioned. It's salary, it's workload. And then at Texas Tech, I think we have really good research packages, seed funding. We get some money from the Office of Research. Sometimes we get some money from the provost. We can get some money from the dean. So if you really want to, it's not your only shot, but it's your best shot to negotiate for funding. If you want to get a research assistant, a graduate student, we usually are able to get people a research assistant for their first 3 years. If you want travel funding, you want to go to more than, we usually pay for one conference a year. If you want to go to more and you have a good reason for it, if you need computer software to analyze your data, this is your opportunity to try to get all of those things. But be realistic. have good reasons for it. We actually asked the faculty or the candidate they have to write up essentially a research proposal and give justification for all of the things that they're asking for. And then there is very much an opinion that if we give you all this money, you're going to turn around and get grants out of it. You're going to essentially take that money and invest it in yourself, and you're going to be a productive member, because at the end of every year, you have to submit a report and say how you spent your money for that year. And the expectation is that you're going to turn around and turn that into other grant opportunities, utilize those research assistants to help with publications. And so back to that third year review, if at the end of 3 years, you spent all the money, you don't have any grants, you don't have any, or you have, 1 or 2 publications, you're going to be looking for another job. So that's usually how our negotiations go.
And Fevzi?
This is again very sensitive. Don't forget, you haven't got the job yet. They only made an offer.
Yes,
they can
good point.
Always withdraw it.
I stopped negotiations once with somebody because they were so they wanted so much. I finally said, you know what? No, I don't. I think we're going to move on. We're going to hire somebody else. And he was shocked. He was like, oh, I thought we were negotiating. And I just got that feeling. I'm like, no, and I was chair. I was like, I do not want you coming here and begging me for stuff for the next 10 years, So I just said, no, you know what? I think we're good. We're going to move on. And we hired somebody else. And he was shocked, but he was really, really pushy. So yeah, sorry, Fevzi, to interrupt.
No, it's okay. So it's like playing poker. You know what you have, and then you don't know what cards they have. And they may have some other candidates as good as you are. And if you really piss them off, you may lose the job. And also, it's not, I want this. It is the way you ask about your salary, your teaching assistant, research assistant, always be within your limits and professional and kind. And also not, I demand this, but would it be possible? May I request this? All right. So this will help my research. This will help my teaching. This will help my personal development. Then they may consider. But if you're really too demanding, at one point they may say, God, this is too much. All right. And also right now, job market is very, I think, tight. There are very few positions, and there are more candidates. I hear like for one position, 50 candidates. Okay. So that means if there is an offer, take it, but ask if they can offer you certain things that will help your professional development. That is my suggestion, right? And if you are a genius, you are the best ever, and once you start working there and they all like you, they will try everything to keep you. But if you really at this negotiation phase, if you are far too demanding, not a good idea, right? Especially right now, it is I think the universities have, in a strategic management term, they have the bargaining power, not the candidates.
Yeah. I think, I don't know, maybe even the panelists can answer this for me, but as a state university, our salaries are public information. So if you wanted to find out the existing, committee members or the most recent hire, you can't find that information. One of our recent hires, when we had the person, and he did get hired, and I was kind of like the handler for him, and we were just having an honest conversation, because I think there should be some transparency, because from the candidate's point of view, it's very difficult to guess what is appropriate, what is the right amount, right? So I just told him, I got a 2-2 for 2 years. I've got $15,000 for seed funding. I was just straight out. That's what I got. I got hired maybe 3 years before you. Is that, I don't know. I just wanted to pass it forward because my current colleague who came in before me shared that information with me. So I was able to ask what was appropriate for my college as well as my university, what they could do. That is reasonable.
During your negotiation process or the interview process, work with your advisor or your mentor. Any email you will send, anything you will submit, someone should review. Don't get excited and then keep bombarding with all these demands and these and that. So still be professional in your communications, in your emails and phone calls. Okay, and always thank them and how much you really want to join.
Yeah, and like Sandra said, even if somebody at the school you're interviewing with either doesn't know or isn't able to give you that information, if you check with your advisor, they can tell you kind of what a package at your school looks like. And if your schools are, comparable, then at least you're in the ballpark. And yes, Texas Tech is a state institution too. You can go and find everybody's salary. So, you could do that too. But you can check with your advisor and he or she probably, if they've been around long enough, they probably know people at the school that you're interviewing with. And maybe, if maybe they know that person well enough that they can ask the question. So yeah, you really need to check with your advisor because that's what we're here for.
The last word I will say, when you start your PhD, your interview process starts. Okay. What is happening is you are interacting with faculty members at your current university. You are interacting with other PhD students at your current university. You are interacting with senior PhD students at your current university. And then you are attending conferences and meeting others. They're all observing you, your behavior, your research presentation, your teaching, and everything. All right. And then it's common that they refer saying, oh, I know this student, she's very good, he's very good. Or they may say, wow, he's good, but I'm concerned about this as well. So it's not all about research, it's not all about teaching, but also the whole process from your PhD to the end. So your current universities, faculty members, PhD students, staff, they will also help you and recommend you as well. So make sure you are being interviewed at all time in classes, in your behavior and everything, okay? What I realized, one of my PhD students found a job last year. And then in addition to her or his formal references, faculty members from that school called other faculty members here at Rosen College, directly or indirectly inquired about this student, saying, what do you know about her or him? Is he good? And this and that. And then to my surprise, after my student got the job, they came and said, oh, they called me like 3-4 faculty members and told me, normally it's not legal, perhaps ethical to contact other references or non-references, but they do informally, and you never know. I mean, and we have friends at different universities and like calling, what do you know about this person? Okay. And so forth. So in short, during your PhD, you are being interviewed as well. Okay, so you have your brand image. Create a positive brand personality, brand image, brand promise. Then that will help you. It's not just cranking publications or industry experience or being a great teacher, but it's the whole package.
What Fevzi said, basically, if you're a doctoral student and you're at this conference, you're already being interviewed. So no pressure, have fun, but we're already watching you. So
Yep.
I'll leave it at that too.
And thank you so much.